What's up, guys? Welcome to Newswave. I hope you had a good weekend this past weekend. It was actually pretty nice around my area, so I was able to get out and do some stuff. But for the most part, we had some interesting things happen over the weekend. Of course, we had our Twitter poll, so if you did not get a chance to vote on that, make sure you are following me on Twitter at SpawnWave Media so you can vote on those weeknights. I put them up, and then, of course, Sunday night to vote on the thumbnail coming up for Newswave. Now, if you missed the stuff we did on the channel over the weekend, we took a look at the charging dock for the Joy-Cons on the Switch. We looked back at the E3 of 2013, where it was PlayStation against the Xbox. But otherwise, guys, we have a pretty full show here with Amazon and Gamestop having a very interesting agreement, as well as a Switch lottery in Japan, so let's get started here. So the first topic I wanted to talk about is something that kind of showed up after Newswave was pretty much ready to go in the books last time. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to fit it in. I did a little video on it. That's the Nintendo Online service. Now, they went into detail for pricing and everything. I did a whole video on that. But I also want to talk about how the NES games are going to be there as more of a subscription-based service. According to Nintendo PR, most of the games are going to just kind of be set up in a Netflix type look, or Xbox Game Pass kind of, where you have a choice of several games in front of you, not just one per month as we thought before. So you pay your normal fee of $20 a year, which is still pretty cheap. And apparently I guess they will add NES games. We saw Mario 3 and Balloon Fight, for example, as examples. And really, if they have those with added online functionality where you can do co-op online or versus online, that seems really worth it. Now, of course, the other online stuff is still kind of vague, especially this app that we have to use on our phone. But I assume we will get there at some point, possibly E3. We also found out it's going to be 2018. So we have a little bit of time before we actually have to pay for the service to try out, which I assume we'll be able to try out the service probably before Splatoon 2, since that is their first real big launch of an online game that has esports and everything involved. And that day, Friday, we had a look at the new Need for Speed that is being detailed, what I assume to be at EA Play coming up, but it looks very similar to the Fast and the Furious movies, where it looks like they will kind of go back to a more streamlined storyline. They have said it's not going to be online only, which is, I think, a big deal. I think they really hurt themselves with the older Need for Speed that came out recently that was online only. You needed to have an internet connection, otherwise it wouldn't work, which led to a lot of errors. There are people who just couldn't play it because they don't have a stable internet connection, for example. And that's odd, because Need for Speed should be a game you can play offline, since that's a lot of people like to buy it and play the single player and tune their cars and kind of hit the streets that way. While we didn't really see any actual gameplay in this trailer, is more of a cinematic thing to kind of set up and announce it, I assume we will see it at EA Play coming up this Saturday, 3 p.m. my time Eastern, where we'll see all kinds of EA games, including this Need for Speed. Hopefully it looks good. Now, if they have a full story that is similar to Fast and the Furious, you know what? It's better than what we had before. So I'm okay with a full storyline to play through, as long as you can still do the free roam and tune your cars up how you want. You're not stuck to certain cars because that's just what the storyline calls for. My favorite one is still Need for Speed Underground 2. That is my favorite Need for Speed. A lot of people like Carbon, but I liked Underground 2 because that was the first Need for Speed that really took that chance of being a big open world style game that I loved, and it was just great. But we'll keep an eye on it. Keep in mind, I am streaming all of the stuff coming up, including EA Play, so we'll check it out and it'll be fun. Oh, and real quick, we're going to see it November 10th. They will have an early type of 10-hour trial for people who are with their early access members. That would be November 2nd, and it'll be a 10-hour free trial. You can technically try out before you buy it, and then you can decide, hey, yeah, I want it. 10th is when it'll be out. And in some interesting news, Nintendo has filed to renew trademarks in Europe. They do this just in case when trademarks are going up in different parts of the world. In this case, though, they re-upped Duck Hunt and Hogan's Alley, which now has people really thinking that, yes, we will see these on the new online service that Nintendo is pitching, because, it makes sense. The thing with Duck Hunt that has really plagued people a lot recently, and it would be the same with Hogan's Alley, is that the zapper does not work on an LCD TV. Just the way it works with where it recognizes the flashes and stuff on the screen just does not work. But the Switch is interesting in that they can remedy that by using the Joy-Cons as we see in World of Goo, where apparently the pointer system works really well. So I could see Duck Hunt and Hogan's Alley making a comeback on this online service, and if they add online functionality where we can play against other people in Duck Hunt online, or Hogan's Alley for the high score, or how many birds did you shoot down, that would be really fun. Maybe even add leaderboards in. That could be a great time overall. I hope that's what this is for. This could also just be to cover their tracks with trademarks. That's not out of the question either. Also, if you've been looking forward to Redout, looks like it might be sooner than you think. Now, these are, of course, rumors that we're seeing here, although several retailers have listed a release date for it, including Gamestop, one of the biggest, obviously, video game brick-and-mortar retail stores out there. They've listed a release date of July 25th, which is pretty soon. It's like in a month and a half. And it's great because Redout it's kind of like that F-Zero type game where it's high speed, high octane racing. Now, many fans have been waiting for something like F-Zero to show up on the Switch, but really we've had Fast RMX, we have Redout coming out now, and a lot of people have been waiting for this game, but it looks like it's gonna be here soon. Hopefully, this might just be an E3 announcement and just some of these companies just said, hey, throw it up on our webpage, because I guess it's Nicholas, a smaller publisher, they're not going to get in any trouble, really. Next up, we started getting a massive mural painted at E3, and they do this pretty much every year, Sony especially, because last year on this same building, they did the Horizon Zero Dawn painting that looked amazing, and this year it looks like that is going to be God of War. Now, of course, jokingly, many people saw it and said God of, W, and they were like, I don't know what this is going to be. Yeah, it's God of War. People were just messing around online. But what they do is they kind of stencil it out, then they slowly paint it over time, and it's now come to the point where it's just about finished, and I can't believe people are able to do this kind of stuff. It's so cool that you kind of put this massive mural on the side, and it just looks amazing from like a distance, and it's really cool. We do know God of War will be there, obviously the new one. They've been teasing it forever. They've released all kinds of information, and it's pretty much been leading to a head for God of War to be one of Sony's big headlining games, and the fact that they're taking out an entire space on a building to show that, yeah, we're going to see quite a bit of God of War at E3. I think there's a lot of Sony fans that are excited for that, or God of War fans in general. It doesn't really matter if you're a Sony fan. There's a lot of people who really like God of War, and guess what? It'll be at E3 in full at this point. Now, people kind of questioned me when I said the Switch would probably outsell the PS4 pretty quick just from demand alone, as long as Nintendo is able to provide these systems, which might end up being the biggest bottleneck, because demand does not seem to be the issue, since now we have stores having to deal with lines through a lottery system to see who gets a Switch. So after a couple weeks of Nintendo being able to move roughly 45 to 47,000 Switches every week after release, we've kind of got down to a point now where you're getting 25 to 26,000 units moving through Japan, of course, is what I'm saying. Every week we see the media creates. It's about 25, 26,000 per week now for the Switch. And that's not a lot right now. It definitely seems like they are bottlenecked, or they are trying to store stock for ARMS when that comes out, or Splatoon 2, because if you can't find one now, good luck then when that comes out. So now retailers are resorting to doing a lottery system where people are lining up in droves outside these retail stores, and it's not just one, it's several of them. For example, as reported, one retailer got 37 units to sell, but a massive line showed up looking for them, and they had no choice. But instead of doing first come, first serve, where people will get freaked out and start yelling at each other and stampeding and trying to fight each other over these things, I've seen it, trust me. They're going to go with a lottery system. Everyone gets a number, and they literally just pull numbers, and okay, number 44, you get a Switch. And that's how you have to do it. But the fact that we have to do this is insane. Nintendo, I have a feeling, is trying as hard as they can to get these, but we talked about the flash storage conundrum that's going on right now, where everyone's fighting over these things, and that could be a problem going forward, but I do think it's something Nintendo will figure out. Someone will step up and feed Nintendo chips. It really comes down to when and how many chips they can even get from another supplier. Also, we have the NPD for the United States closing on the 6th, so tomorrow. And from there, it'll be about a week or so where maybe PR starts releasing things. It's going to come down to if Nintendo wants to release those numbers, because there's a chance that there is a Switch drought going on compared to, say, the first month or even the second month. So this could be a thing that we have to that they have to get through and get parts available to get more Switches out there for the public, because the demand is there right now. They can easily cruise through millions of units in a month if they could get these parts out there. And in our last bit of news, guys, is very interesting. It's very interesting, actually, because it's something I would have never seen coming, and that is a partnership between Gamestop and Amazon, two rivals essentially, right? I mean, you can look at it a couple ways, because GameStop is more of a brick and mortar store, whereas Amazon is an online store. So they compete, but they kind of compete indirectly, right? I mean, if Amazon puts on something on sale, they're not putting it on sale to attack GameStop's in-store service, because as much as Amazon wants to try to get you something instantly, you can't get them the item any faster than if you're at the retail counter and you point at it and they give it to you. It's just this, they can't compete with it. Another thing that Amazon cannot compete with GameStop on currently are trade-ins, because you have to mail your trade-ins in to Amazon. You can't walk into an Amazon store, hand them games, they hand you credit that you then walk around and spend. It just doesn't work that way. So what's happening now is any things you trade in, let's say you trade in 4 games to GameStop, they give you like $30. That might be a little too much for GameStop. Let's say they give you $30. You can then take that $30 and spend it on Amazon's site instead. And this has been discovered by several different websites right now, going from Slick Deals to cheapassgamer.com. They've all discovered this. They've seen these pamphlets floating around, these PDFs, and yeah, that's exactly what it's describing. That Amazon and GameStop are essentially working together, where store credit in GameStop works for Amazon. And there's even been some leaflets and things found that say that apparently Amazon is trying to figure out how to make their credit work in GameStop store. And this is very weird. I'm trying to figure out how this, realistically, I'm trying to figure out how this benefits Amazon as much as it benefits GameStop, because if we consider this, GameStop now has a way to get more trade-ins, because now you could take your credit and spend it, say, at Amazon. I assume then GameStop has to then give Amazon money for that credit that's being spent there, because Amazon will just be out money then. So there must be some kind of back and forth here, whether maybe you take that $30, you spend it on Amazon, and GameStop then just gives Amazon $30 or something. But this is another way for you to trade stuff into GameStop and then not necessarily get games. Maybe you want to trade it in and you want to get paper towels, or you want to get this drone that you see on Amazon. You know, there's a lot of stuff. Fidget spinners, I guess, although I'm sure they sell those at GameStop now because they seem to jump on the trend bandwagon right away. But the point is now GameStop has more reason for people to trade games in, which is where GameStop's big business is. Their software sales have been down, their trade-ins have been down. This could be a quick, like a shot in the dark to try to get more trade-ins in, more stuff on the shelf, more random buys or purchases because they have more used games in store. It makes a lot of sense. I don't know why Amazon would be doing this unless they believe that what they've always done is get people on your site and they'll buy more stuff than what they're planning to. Maybe they assume that you doing that will then get them more customers that wouldn't normally try Amazon's site, which I think at this point everyone's tried Amazon's site. I'm not sure. I'm going to keep looking at this to try to figure out how this is going to unfold on Amazon's side, because it just looks like it makes a ton of sense for GameStop, just not a lot for Amazon. I mean, they were really hurting GameStop with their new game stuff. I mean, people just were not shopping at GameStop as much and just on Amazon. At this point, Amazon could just wait around and let GameStop slowly crumble. I'm not really sure why Amazon stepped in here. And that's it for Newswave today, guys. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. All that good stuff. Let me know what you think about any of the stuff we talked about today, whether it is that big God of War monument that they're making there. Maybe you're excited for the game. I mean, God of War is an awesome series, so I'll be checking it out too, because I'm sure I'll be getting it for the PS4. Hopefully it has some really cool PS4 Pro capabilities built in, with frames per second being awesome, things like that. Let me know what you think about this interesting partnership for GameStop and Amazon. I think it's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And definitely let me know what you think about the Nintendo Online service having more of a subscription-based gameplay where you can pay money and then have access to a library of older classics. They've only considered Nintendo games right now. They're thinking about Super Nintendo games. I have a feeling, though, the Super Nintendo, Game Boy Advance, even Game Boy, will be part of the virtual console experience where you buy games, and they'll keep NES over on the subscription end, maybe even add some of the original Game Boys to it. That's it for now, guys. I will see you next time.